Where do you start when you want to level up your Excel ability using VBA for the first time, but perhaps where you don't have a classic programming background? So you're the Excel guy or girl in the team. People come to you with their problems for Excel. You're comfortable with index match and VLOOKUP and I don't know, pivots, doing formulas, hiding tabs, doing all these kind of stuff that helps you measure and analyze and present your data. But VBA has been this kind of thing in the background. Like it's kind of, it's there, but you haven't really touched it. You might have like built a macro or two, or tried to automate something, maybe made a button to try and add some functionality, but you've not really got into it and you're not quite sure where to start. You think, well, maybe you're sort of learning's plateaued a bit, or you're looking to increase your knowledge for your CV, etc., etc. So you're thinking, right, okay, I'm going to invest a bit of time and learn VBA. So you start looking. There are loads of courses out there. Excel's been around forever. So there are long courses, there are short courses, there are free courses, there are really expensive courses. How do you know that any of these are going to add any value? Even the free ones, 4, 5, 6 weeks long, still require you to commit that level of investment of time. They still require you to do quite a lot. So it's not just the cost, it's you don't want to be wasting your time on a course that's not going to add any value at the end of it. Maybe it's too theoretical, or maybe it's too nebulous. It's teaching you functions that you're never really going to use. So how can you be sure where to start and what's even going to be worth it? When you get into that kind of searching, then the conversation comes up as, VBA, it's a dinosaur language, is it even worth learning it? So now you've got this extra layer to think about as well, which is sort of, I want to level up my Excel skills. That's all I wanted to do, and now I'm getting into this whole discussion about whether Python is better than R, and DAX is the future, and JavaScript is coming to Excel, and Power Query. I mean, this is like, hang on. All I wanted to do is just get my Excel skills up, and yet other people are saying, well, if you're going to invest your time learning, you want to learn something else. You don't want to learn VBA. So it's all quite confusing. It all involves a lot of your time, and it's a bit of a dilemma in terms of like, well, how do you progress from here? So my thinking here is that it would be much better if you had total confidence in your Excel environment, that you could navigate your way around any kind of VBA situation. You were familiar with how it worked. You understood the key concepts of it. You could write some macros. You could confidently use about 70 or 80% of anything that anyone ever uses in VBA. So wouldn't it be great if you knew exactly how to help yourself within Excel? When you got stuck, you knew exactly what to search for. And more than that, if you went onto something like Stack Overflow, you'd even have an ability to post your code and say, like, this is my code that I'm using. Can you help me fix this problem? So you'd actually have a lot more ability to help yourself. You'd be asking questions at a much more precise level because you'd really understand what's going on. And what if all of that you could do in a really short space of time? So basically, I've been in your position, and I've put together a really short 4-part course that is the kind of thing that I would have wanted when I started out into my journey with VBA a few years ago. It's just the bare bones, battle tested features and functions, the bigger concepts of how it all works, how it all comes together, presented to you so that you can then just take that as your foundation, your rock, and you can build from that. We've got an introduction to the environment, subroutines, this concept of moving data between the sheet and this VBA environment. We're just going to add some stuff up. I mean, the example I'm going to do is ridiculously simple. So don't be put off by that. We're going to do all of this stuff with this one crazy example. So, you're just going to have to go with me. I've done it on purpose because I didn't want us to get distracted by the outcome. I just wanted to focus on like, well, how can we approach that? So we're going to look at, adding up some numbers basically. We're going to use all these different ways of doing it, loops and ranges, and we're going to it's going to go wrong, and we're going to fix it. We're going to throw in arrays. You've probably heard of arrays. You might even used arrays in a formula. In the worksheet, that tends to slow things down. In VBA, it's quite the opposite. It speeds things up, so arrays become your best friend. So we're just super introduction to that. Then we're looking at how to maybe make things a little bit more general. So say you've got a list of numbers and that list changes in size. You want some adaptability. You might have already done that in the sheet with something like a named range and things like that. So this is like some VBA equivalents in there. And then the last bit really is just about performance. So we're going to kind of benchmark each of these different methods from the super basic level in part one, through the ranges, through the loops, into the arrays, and just sort of see, okay, well, are these things making any difference? Now with our example, it's really easy and it doesn't really, you don't really need to do it. But as soon as you step outside into say anything that's ever so slightly more complicated, performance becomes a bit of an issue. So these really simple little steps will enable you to work out how fast things are going and give you 2 or 3 generalized tips that you'll see absolutely everywhere in terms of speeding things up. Last but not least is the if statement. You will have used it 100 times in various formulas. Just going to plug it in here in this last part for the performance, because we're going to use it to help improve the performance. But also it just shows you how to use it, and then you can use if this, that, whatever, and get all your different code organized with if statements as well, which I'm sure you'll want to do. In the end, we'll just wrap it all up, and then I'll give you some tips for next steps, maybe some pointers on other things you can look at when you've got this sort of bedded in. So you'll build your own project, and then you'll go, okay, well now I want to improve it, I want to add a user form, I want to make my own function, which is possible in Excel with VBA. So there's all these things for next steps. But now the point being is, with this kind of battle-tested core fundamentals that happen in every project I seem to do, I always have every single thing put in here, this little toolkit of everything. You'll be super prepared to either take on that next course or just, this might be enough for you just to get you going, give you your confidence that you can ask your own questions in Google and start to build your own project. So, I hope you like it, and, let's get on to part one.